All eyes were on Nathan as he stood in front of Donna Lightstone and the rest of her family in the great hall. Amelia anxiously hid behind her brother as he smiled. She was certain his actions would get her in more trouble with Sir Ian's family. She would have loved to chew him out for it, were it not for the fact that hundreds of people were waiting for Nathan to explain himself and his potion. Meanwhile, Hagar finished walking up to the front of the room and smiled at Amelia's fear. He had spoken up about Nathan's potion not to embarrass him, but to help him. During their earlier drunken bonding session, Hagar had observed the fact that Nathan had not brought the high mountain snowflower with him. Nathan had tried to hide the truth from Hagar, but his relaxed self-confidence gave him away. Nathan had then whispered his intentions to Hagar, and so now Hagar was simply following his new friend's wishes. After all, Hagar's question now gave Nathan a chance to show off his gift to everyone in the Great Hall, including the High Lord Lightstone himself. Hagar shook his head in awe as Nathan strode forward and took the potion vial back from Donna, holding it up for all to see. Hagar couldn't believe Nathan's total lack of fear, and this further reinforced his desire to befriend House Hayfield at all costs. Hagar had always been good at judging people, and he was thrilled with his decision to let go of any ill will toward Nathan.
Unbelievable. So powerful and so courageous at such a young age. Who could possibly be his match in 10 years' time? If I can stay friends with him until that time, all my foes will cower under his mighty gaze.
Meanwhile, Nathan paced before the front table as he showed off his potion, confident that everyone's attention lay on him.
Good Lady Donna Lightstone, this potion I've given you is none other than the elixir of youth. It allows the drinker to maintain their youthful appearances for far longer than one normally would be able to. Or, for those who are older, it de-ages them by several years.
Donna frowned as Nathan handed the vial back to her. She was obviously quite skeptical, considering such potions were extremely rare in this world.
Is that truly what this is? Yes, my lady, and I have a second vial here for your mother as well.
As Nathan reached into his pocket and produced a second potion, he offered it up to Cecilia Lightstone, who took it quickly and smiled. It was then that a heckler from the crowd shouted drunkenly at the scene.
Why bother listening to this rubbish? There's no way that kid could have bought a potion such as...
The heckler stopped as soon as Lady Cecilia stood and held up her hand toward the crowd. She continued to inspect the vial, and her hands trembled slightly as she addressed Nathan for the first time. Her tone was both excited and urgent.
Young Master Hayfield, you claim that this potion is in fact the elixir of youth? Is that correct?
Before Nathan could respond, the other members of House Lightstone gave Cecilia concerned looks. Sir Ian frowned.
Mother, what exactly is the elixir of youth? I've never heard of such a thing, yet clearly it's gotten you worked up.
Sir Ian's father, the High Lord himself, also frowned. He spoke with a serious, calming tone as he gently touched his wife's shoulder.
Cecilia, darling, what's gotten into you? Is this healing potion really as special as the Hayfield boy claims?
Phew. I've never seen this elixir before, but there are many rumors of its existence, and also I happened to read of it in an ancient book many years ago. It's not something one could simply buy. The recipe to make it is largely unknown to even our brightest alchemists, and it's not just a healing potion, but a special rejuvenation tonic.
Really? But what does that mean?
It means it's far more powerful than a regular potion. See how it glows so brightly? It's said that anyone who drinks it will regain a youthful appearance, and some claim that it can even make a 60-year-old woman look 30 years younger.
Donna's eyebrows raised with excitement.
But, Mother, what does that mean for me? Just as this young man said, should you take it, my dear, the speed of your aging will slow dramatically, and you shall maintain your youthful glow well into the future, not just cosmetically, but internally as well, Imagine what a blessing that would be."
Cecilia's eyes gleamed as she stared into the neon green liquid in the vial. Although appearances weren't everything in this realm, they still mattered greatly for noble women in particular, whose status forced them to appear a certain way. The elder Lady Lightstone's thoughts were often on her appearance as of late. Cecilia's hair was beginning to turn white, and her skin was even paler now than it was in her youth. She was in her late 50s after all. But more than that, Cecilia's joints were in a state of constant pain, and even the best healers she'd gone to had struggled to treat the issue effectively. Cecilia turned back to Nathan and smiled widely at him.
"Thank you, young Master Nathan. I am truly touched by your present, and I owe you a great debt for such a thoughtful gift. I can only hope that House Hayfield will join us for gatherings more often, so we can express our gratitude more thoroughly."
Seeing her mother's words, Donna Lightstone also smiled at Nathan and bowed slightly toward him, a powerful expression of her thanks for all to see.
"Thank you very much, then. I knew my brothers weren't wrong to like you. I'll not be so formal next time."
Amelia blushed as she stopped hiding behind Nathan, who almost chuckled at Donna's actions. Lucius Lightstone cleared his throat and thoughtfully scratched his beard.
"Yes, young Nathan, I thank you for the generous gift."
Although the High Lord Lightstone had no interest in maintaining a youthful appearance, he was extremely pleased with his wife and daughter's reaction to the gift. Although he still knew little of Nathan Hayfield, beyond the tales of his sons had told him, he was already quite pleased and impressed with the young man's actions. Nathan smiled at the Lightstone family and saluted them with Amelia at his side.
"All of you are far too kind. My sister and I simply wished to do our best to please you. You have no need to praise us before even trying out the potion."
Nathan smiled as everyone took in his words. He spoke humbly, but in his mind, he knew that once they used the potion and saw how effective it was, House Lightstone's impression of them would instantly increase tenfold. Still, Nathan's words sowed the seeds of doubt amongst the guests in the great hall, and many of the jealous suitors went back to their murmurings.
"That's right. What if the potion isn't effective on them?"
Or, what if it's a fake? What if he tried to make a counterfeit potion and it has a negative effect?
"Exactly. He couldn't possibly have bought it or made it himself.
Who knows? The elixir itself might be defective. It could even be dangerous." "Lady Cecilia, wait! I wouldn't take that if I were you. Nobody's ever seen a real elixir of youth before. It's impossible to know if it's real or fake. You'd better be careful."
Nathan looked at the crowd of naysayers and shook his head. He turned back to Lady Cecilia and knelt before her.
"Lady Cecilia, I swear to you, the potion is genuine. If you wish, you may take it now for all to see. If it does not work, as I have said, I promise the heavens to lay down my sword and never again practice the spiritual fighting arts for the rest of my days."
Amelia frowned at Nathan's intense words. She tugged on the back of his shirt and whispered in his ear.
"Nathan, what are you doing? Why bet your entire future on if a potion works or not? Even if it fails and we are forced to leave in disgrace, it's not worth the risk."
Nathan smiled and stayed kneeling before Cecilia. He nodded for Amelia to leave him alone.
"Don't worry, sis. I know what I'm doing."
Amelia sighed as she stepped away from Nathan and shook her head. Nathan's pledge to never again use his spiritual fighting arts again was not a trivial one. The power of Asura was a jealous and fickle form of magic. Amelia knew that the heavens would hear Nathan's promise, and if he broke it, he would likely lose his magical abilities altogether, whether he wished to honor his promise or not. That would mean that Nathan would have no way of properly defending himself during the upcoming challenge with House Raven, and thus would likely spell the end of House Hayfield. A High Lord Lightstone stood up and groaned at Nathan's words.
"Oh, careful, young man. A magic vow such as this is not to be spoken lightly. You should not act on mere impulse here."
Sir Ian nodded at his father's words.
"That's right, Nathan. There's no need for you to gamble away your future or even your life."
Nathan smiled confidently at Sir Ian.
I appreciate your words of concern, and those of your father, but I do not speak lightly, and I am risking nothing. After all, why should I fear for my safety when I know my potion is effective?
The High Lord Lightstone stroked his beard and couldn't help but laugh at Nathan's audacity.
To think that you're so bold at such a young age. If my lads have half the courage you muster, they'll go very far indeed. Very well then, I do not doubt your word, young man.
Cecilia smiled at her husband's laughter. She too stood up and held up the vial once more.
Since you are such a reassuring young man, I shall test this matter on the spot, so none dare question it.
Cecilia chuckled as she unsealed the cork, popped open the vial, and took a delicate sip of the neon green potion. As she did this, Lucius Lightstone stopped laughing.
Cecilia, wait.
But it was too late. She'd already brought the liquid to her lips. The High Lord had wanted to intervene, but he knew that if he'd stopped his wife now, she would never forgive him. She had quite the temper, after all, and he knew eventually she'd do it anyway. He could only sigh and watch with the hundreds of guests as they waited to see what would happen.
Pardon me.
Everyone in the great hall waited with bated breath as Cecilia burped slightly, then corked up the remaining potion and sat back down in her seat, slowly humming to herself as the seconds ticked by. The eyes of the people in the crowd widened, and some began to gasp as the changes happened almost instantly. Lady Cecilia's hair was the first thing to change. Then her skin began to glow. The gray and white strands turned into a rich, dark black shade. The wrinkles on her face and hands suddenly disappeared altogether, quickly receding as her skin grew flush and taut once more. Even her pale skin color grew brighter and more full of life. In the time it took hot water to boil, Cecilia's appearance had entirely changed. The withered old matriarch was now in the prime of her life again, fresh-faced and bright-eyed. Meanwhile, the High Lord Lightstone's mouth fell agape as he looked at his wife, who now seemed no older than 35 years old. He stuttered as he tried to find the words.
Heavens bless us! This potion is the work of the divine.
As for Sir Ian and Stuart, they were utterly speechless and completely shocked by their mother's transformation. Finally, Stuart was able to get a few words out as his eyes went back and forth between his mother and his sister.
Donna, look. Mom looks like she could be your sister. Some might even think you're the older one.
Donna rolled her eyes at her little brother, then shook her head and stared at her own green vial.
How is this even possible?
Brr.
Pardon me.
All eyes fell on Cecilia as her eyes blinked, and she stared down at her wrinkle-free hands.
Incredible! I feel so much better.
Cecilia turned and beamed toward Nathan and Amelia, who also stood there dumbstruck. Cecilia stood and grasped Nathan and Amelia's shoulders.
Thank you both so very much. Your potion is extremely good. I don't know how I'll ever be able to repay you.
Immediately, the crowd murmured amongst themselves once more. Mostly the words were full of shock and amazement, but Nathan was still able to detect the unsatisfied ramblings of a few jealous suitors who hated how much Cecilia and Donna appreciated House Hayfield's gift.
So what if it works? Just some kind of cosmetic trick. It's not like it has any real power behind it or value on the battlefield.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice and all, but it's not particularly useful to warriors like us. At the end of the day, it's just a fancy little tonic that won't help you in a fight.
The suitors' faces grew red as they tried their best to undervalue the miracle they'd all just witnessed. Since they'd already ridiculed Nathan's gift out loud, they could only double down their criticisms or face even more public embarrassment.